Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 2. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
On today's show, we're going to discuss tools, where to start. Hey guys, welcome back. How was your week?
It was great. Dave?
It was good. Had a lot of fun. I went camping this weekend.
Oh, who'd you go with?
I went with you guys.
Oh, snap. Yeah, we did our yearly Christmas tree burning.
Yes, it's a tradition.
I literally think we've been doing it at least for 15 years.
I guess it feels like that long, but that's a long time.
Yeah, I think that's a good estimate. I mean, I remember high school, late high school being...
we would only bring maybe 3 trees.
Yeah, whatever you could fit in the back of the Bronco 2 or the Explorer.
Or on the roof.
On the roof. But now that we've upgraded, we have trailers now, and we have resources.
We own more property. So we can take a trailer of 25 trees.
Well, it was more than 25 this year, wasn't it? How many? Did we do a count?
Well, that was just in my trailer.
Yeah, I didn't bring a trailer.
I think we got to 40 this year.
We got to 40 this year, but the record was, drum roll, please.
Okay.
No drum roll.
Right. 76.
That's still it's unbelievable.
Pretty sure we had 76 trees. I don't remember which year that was. I'm going to say,
I think it was,
I don't know, 2010? I don't know.
Sounds right.
Yeah. But that wasn't the most spectacular burn. I don't think we got. Yeah, there wasn't a good lighting system over the years. Over the past 4 years, I think we've honed in the lighting.
Well, this year would have been good, but somebody forgot the gas can.
Yeah, by somebody, it was everybody forgot gas. So usually we have straight gasoline to help the trees along, but it didn't really need it. I think we did a decent job.
Yeah. So if you've never burned a Christmas tree, it doesn't need a whole lot of coaxing. I mean, it goes up.
Yeah, and if we were all smart after witnessing what happens to a Christmas tree, in the power of fire, we would not have them in our house.
That's why I went fake primarily for that reason.
Yeah, every year online, Facebook, wherever, there's always a video of the Christmas tree. The fire department will do a demonstration video. This is what a non-water tree will do. This is what a water tree will do. And it's just total destruction. So if you can imagine that, these trees have been thrown out at the Home Depot parking lot. That's usually where we go pick these things up. And have just been drying and drying and drying. So imagine 40 of those together. And
it's glorious.
It's a beautiful.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and if there's frost on the ground, everything is steaming within a 50 foot radius.
Earth.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'll try to remember to put up a picture, maybe on the show notes.
I've been waiting for them.
Yeah, get those on the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Maybe on our Instagram or something like that. Anyways, Josh, take us away on this topic.
Yeah, let's get into these tools. Where to start? So the idea behind this is for anybody who is kind of starting from ground zero on their toolkit.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, if you moved out of the house, you're in your first apartment, or maybe you're buying your first house, and you need some tools to get basic things done.
I remember being there. There was no podcast. Like, I remember standing in Home Depot buying a toolbox and thinking to myself, what do I put in here?
That's real cute.
What goes in here?
I just bought a first apartment.
So basically, when we're thinking about this show, we're thinking, okay, the guy that wants to do things himself but literally has next to zero tools. So what we did is we went ahead and pick 2 tools that are just non-negotiable, if you will, right?
Yeah. Somehow we agreed on 2.
Yeah. So we started with 2, which would be a claw hammer or just a regular hammer, which I guess nobody really calls it a claw hammer.
If you don't have a hammer, you don't need to know the difference between claw hammer and framing hammer.
Just go buy a hammer.
Sledge.
Yeah. So it's just a regular hammer and a combo screwdriver. By that, we mean you can take out the screwdriver, flip it around, so you got Phillips head on one and a flat head on the other. So that pretty much covers most of your bases as far as the screwdriver is concerned. So 2 of those, hammer and a screwdriver. And then we said, let's come to the table to this show with our own list of, what do we say, 5?
Yeah, well, we built a list of 5, and we're going to, on the podcast, add 5 tools to the list of 2 we already have.
So ideally, at the end of this, we'll have 7 essential tools.
Yes. Bare essentials
that we feel you've got to have if you want to get started doing things yourself. Now, caveat, this is only for things really inside the house.
It's like a home improvement.
So we didn't tackle
type thing.
We didn't tackle auto. We'll do that on another.
Yeah, we're not doing auto. No, not landscaping.
Right. So
these are things inside your house.
Right.
Around
this is
the
not
house.
taking care of your yard. This is inside the house.
Yeah. So Tim, you want to go first?
I do. Okay, so I think my list will actually surprise you guys on some of this. But okay, the very first one, surely you guys put this one on there, a tape measure. Okay?
That was my number 1. So
absolutely, mine as well.
That was my number 1.
Good job, guys. That's shocking. That's
Yeah.
shocking to me.
Because, I don't know.
It's not shocking. I mean, a tape, you have to have.
Well, it is for the 3 of us, to me.
I guess so.
agree.
But everybody needs a tape measure.
Yeah,
gotta have one.
Even down to, I'm taking something apart. I gotta take apart to Home Depot. I gotta know what size it is to compare to what I need to get, or all kinds of stuff.
Maybe you're hanging a picture.
That's the first. That's what I think.
Your wife needs it centered on the wall or over the couch.
That's one of the first things you do.
Eyeball it, but make it right.
Right.
And use a tape measure.
When you move into a new house or apartment, pictures go up, and if you don't have a tape measure, they're off center.
So. Now, I could save this for later, but I was thinking about it while I was building my list. Let's share our belief in what kind of money should you be spending. And I'm not talking about specific dollars. I'm talking about, do you go with the free tape measure, or do you go with the quality tape measure that's going to last you a generation?
I know where Tim's coming in.
Yeah. Okay. So some of you are listening and you're thinking, why did Josh just say free tape measure? And he's saying that because I literally probably have 10 free tape measures from Harbor Freight.
You've given me one.
Harbor Freight? Yeah. I just like, hey, you want a tape measure?
Yeah.
And I didn't, but I took it.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you don't have a tape measure, you've probably got a friend that has a tape measure they will give you.
Or if you don't live near a Harbor Freight, I'm sorry. Anyways, don't ever go to Harbor Freight without a coupon, especially a free coupon. Anyways, I've got tons of these.
Separate show on that.
Okay. And so many guys listening to this be like, oh my gosh, you go to Harbor Freight. I love Harbor Freight. I am unashamedly in love with Harbor Freight. And so, so those are the tape measures that I have. You know what I really like about Harbor Freight tape measures is the fact that they are what I call cheater tape measures.
I've read
because
the tape
it's
measure
got
before.
the incremental labels on
the
there.
fraction.
The fraction.
1/8, 5/16.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So
kind of nice.
For me,
that's nice if you're a beginner.
I'm on the opposite end on this issue, and I think for your starter toolkit, if you're buying 5 or 7 tools or whatever. For the bare essentials, I think you should get the nicer ones because these are things that they should last you forever, and being the bare essentials, they should be nicer tools.
Yeah, we have a little mix here because I think I'm middle of the road on one thing I might spend the money to get a nice one. On another thing off this list, I might just go with
that makes sense.
But one thing about tape measures is that's what you're going to lose. Okay, anybody
that is
knows
true.
You can never
find
the tape measure. So I actually have tape measures kind of throughout my house.
Stashed?
I really do. Actually, there's one right over there on my desk right there.
I'm pretty dedicated on my tape measures. I bought one when my wife and I flipped a house about 8 or 9 years ago. I bought a Stanley, the old metal Stanley. Basic 25-foot.
And you still have it, and you never
still
lost
have it, and I always use it. And I'll tell you what, about a year ago, I went and bought a new Fat Max Stanley with the
it's the best.
The auto stops. I don't know what they call it, but you can pull it out, and you don't have to push the lock down. It stays out when you. I'm just saying that because don't buy one. It's trash. It's garbage. That thing failed after like 2 or 3 jobs.
Oh, I've had good luck with the Fat Max.
The ones that stay out
not
by
the
themselves.
auto, not the stop. I don't.
Yeah, so don't do that if you're listening. Don't buy the one that stays. It sounds like a great idea that when you extend it, it stays out without you having to push the lock. But I go for the complete waste.
I go for the 2-pack, and it was the Fat Max. It was the 2-pack. To Tim's point, because I know I'm going to lose one of them, which I have. So I have one left over.
Yeah, yes. So Anyway, basic tape measure. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll let Dave go second.
All right, I'm up next. So next on my list after tape measure is needle nose pliers. Got to have a pair of needle nose pliers.
That was on mine.
Okay, it didn't make my top 5, but
really?
Okay, well,
I'm not going to disagree.
You're wrong. But yeah, I think everybody needs needle nose pliers. I use mine all the time. If I need a pair of pliers, that's what I'm going for first, usually. I would say not.
What kind of jobs are we looking at when you're doing the needle nose?
Man, you need needle nose pliers for all kinds of
For everything.
stuff. I mean, it's funny. I say all kinds of stuff, and now I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you guys.
Of when I used it last.
If you're pulling a nail out, when you hang that picture and your wife, this happens to me all the time. I always hang it in the wrong spot every time. And so I got to pull that nail out, grabbing the needle nose pliers.
Yeah, any sort of little thing that you've got to get a hold of, you can't do it with bigger pliers.
Got to get those needle nose.
One thing I will say with needle nose is most of them come with the wire cutter down by the fulcrum.
Okay, that's funny because I have a note on mine to get the ones with the wire.
Okay.
Oh, I said no. I don't ever use that part.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
see,
one of
to
my most
me,
frequent
it
uses.
eliminates the need to have the side snips.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just talking. If I'm going to strip
It has
down
more
to
utility.
Well,
tools.
so my lineman's dikes, that's my favorite tool, and so that's why I grab those.
Are you
for that.
skipping ahead? Or?
I am skipping ahead, but anyway.
Okay, so needle nose pliers. We got
Needle
2
nose
votes
pliers.
for
I was going to
needle nose
say
pliers.
another name for needle nose is long nose pliers.
Okay.
So
Okay. Cool.
I don't know. Different parts of the country. Maybe call it something different.
Just call them needle nose.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
That's what I've always called it. All right, Josh.
All right.
Next.
The next one that I have here is a 24-inch level.
I thought about that.
Okay.
It's on my list. It's not next, but it's on my list.
Okay.
You know why I didn't think of it though, and I eliminated it, is because who doesn't have the level on their phone?
No, I do not trust the level on my phone.
No,
Yeah,
I will
look.
never pull that out.
Okay,
No.
but if we're talking just whittling this down to basic tools.
But again, going back to hanging that picture, it's got to be level.
Yeah, but also, okay, another thing I was thinking about the 24-inch, I was thinking it might be too large. So you might want to get one of those little torpedo.
Yeah, that's not the torpedoes aren't bad, but I don't trust them again for like long span stuff. If I was hanging a shelf, I'm not quite. It's a little too short for me. But hey, if you're talking basics and you want it to fit in a toolbox, maybe you do go smaller level.
That's true. It's not going to fit the toolbox.
I also like a level just as a straight edge in general.
Yeah, that's
just
multiple uses.
Marking measurements, marking shelves. You know, if you're not going to have a speed square or anything, you can have that level to give you a nice straight edge. That was next on my list.
So what are we up to now? Is that number?
This was 3.
So 3.
Okay, so we just kind of keep going around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. We did needle nose. Oh, I have a groove joint, or I actually had to look up what they call these. I would just call them kind of plumber's pliers, really, but they're actually called tongue and groove pliers.
Channel locks.
Yeah, channel. Well,
that's
a brand name. But,
okay, well,
but you're right, because when I hear channel lock, I do actually think of this type of pliers.
Okay.
But so
adjustable
it's tongue and groove pliers, or it's also called groove joint pliers. I said a basic 10-inch. Essentially, that's going to cover a lot of bases.
Yep.
Pretty much any sort of plumbing fixture that's inside your home, aside from large waste pipes or something, you're going to be able to grab a hold of with these things.
You can also, since they are adjustable, any stuck bolts, that's a good tool for. Smaller bolts.
Yeah,
they do really well on stripped bolts as well.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my day.
I use them all the time. That was on my list as well, but the one I had before that, so I had an adjustable wrench on there. I'd call it a crescent wrench, but again, that's a brand name. So an adjustable wrench.
Okay.
No.
Any kind of adjustable wrench.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a crescent wrench.
I think of a crescent wrench, but
that's where
Crescent's
you roll
a company. You roll the thing, and it's an adjustable wrench.
Okay, it's funny because I have one. Obviously, I don't ever
really. I use mine. All right. So I work on bicycles a lot, and that's probably why I use mine all the time.
When you have opposing bolts,
yep.
I would just get the correct
crescent.
Okay, I would say for this purposes, yes, I can totally see why you would say that. I probably don't use it because I just go for the appropriate size wrench.
And I agree with you, but for your starter tool set, I think you do an adjustable wrench because that's going to cover you for a lot. It's going to cover you for a lot of.
I think that it should be on there.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. I'm really waiting for Josh's next one, and I'm thinking that I know what it's going to be.
But to your point, Tim, that's how I feel about the combo screwdriver. I think you need a screwdriver set. But again, if this is your starter tool set and you're trying to, starting from zero,
you don't need 10 Craftsman Phillips and
so I will concede the combo screwdriver.
All right, Dave. What's next on your list?
On my list, I just said adjustable wrench. I can go again if you want.
So we're doing two. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So crescent and channel separate.
Josh's turn.
All right. So although we have 5 now, I'm making an executive decision for 6 so that I get to share 2, just like everyone else.
We can go to 20 if you want.
So yeah, I mean, we got time. So my next pick is going to be the socket wrench set.
Okay.
A basic set of socket wrenches. And if you don't know what a socket wrench is, it's the wrench that it comes with pieces that fit different size bolts, and you put the little piece onto the wrench. It clips onto the wrench, and it makes a ratcheting sound when you use it.
Yep.
I had that on my initial list, and then I bumped it off because I was thinking that's really more so for auto work, I feel like. I think of the amount of times that you've used the ratcheting set, the socket set, inside your house on a house.
Yeah, you don't really use it like under a sink, or I can't really think of anywhere.
Not a ton. I've used it to put lag bolts in into studs. That's where I've primarily used it. But yeah, I
certainly useful. I use them all the time.
Let's vote that off. You want to vote that off?
We're striking it off the list. Did you write it down?
I wrote it, but I mean, we can strike it.
That's day 2 in my mind.
All right.
Or auto related.
Ooh, downvoted.
Okay, so one that I thought for sure one of you guys would have already said is a basic retractable utility knife.
Dude, that's next on my list.
I
was waiting for it to come back around to me. So utility knife for sure.
Call it box cutter, utility knife. I would suggest a very basic all metal construction one that you can easily change the blades.
Yes. So do you like the one with the trapezoidal blade, or do you like the one where the blade extends all the way? I just converted to the blade that extends all the way out. I think a lot of drywall guys use that you break off. No. Totally superior.
No.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely superior to the standard box cutter.
No.
Because they're making those
10 times weaker. The blade is weaker.
All right, so you have to be mindful when you're using it, Josh. But the box cutters now, they're making them, they're like safety box cutters, and they don't stay open.
You get the classic Stanley.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's a gray one
that doesn't fold.
That does not fold. Do not buy. Do not buy the folding one.
The folding ones are fine if it's like your 3rd or 4th box cutter or utility knife.
And what you have to do is you have to buy a multi-pack of the blades. That's what I did. I bought a massive pack of the really nice blades that I can replace.
Because you can get like 100 blades for like $5 or something.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
Yeah. No, that's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to totally disagree on the blades that you break off.
No, I converted.
That seems like a child's
I'll have to look
toy.
I'll have to look at the one that you have, because every single one of those
it's fantastic. I love it.
Is horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you can't. You only extend the blade out a little bit, so it doesn't. Yeah. I haven't broken it off yet, but anyway.
If you cut drywall with it,
yes.
that's where my knife takes the biggest beating is cutting drywall. But yes, good choice.
We'll see what happens.
It was on all 3 of our lists.
Gotta have a utility knife.
Let's just go wild and go way off script and just keep going.
Just keep going. All right.
We've exhausted.
Okay. Next on my list, electric drill. So this is the first high dollar. I say high dollar.
Now, when you say electric, you mean cordless.
All right. So I thought a lot about this, and I think my cordless drill is one of my most used tools hanging on my wall. But I think if you're only going to have one drill, I think you should go with a corded drill, because yeah, you get a ton of power out of it. You can use it for essentially anything. I think you could go either way, but if it's me, I'm buying one with that you plug in.
It's hard to argue. It is way lower cost.
It's lower cost. It's cheaper.
As long as you're near a plug.
They last forever. The battery. I hate buying batteries for my drill. It just makes me mad. So
batteries are getting better and better.
The smaller drills, are they 12 volt or 20?
No idea.
Volt, I know
what you're talking about.
The small like handy. Those are getting. The quality's better. They're still expensive, but they're smaller cordless drills,
right?
That take up less space but still powerful. So, right. But I think Dave's got a good point here because starter toolkit, you don't want to shell out because you can get a corded drill for what, $35?
That's the number that I put on my $35.
That's and you can get a good drill, a good corded.
You can,
good corded drill.
I don't use. I don't remember the last time I used my corded drill. I use my cordless one. But again, if you're only gonna have one,
I have a corded hammer drill, for like concrete and stuff. But
I do have that.
That's a completely separate need.
When I'm drilling through masonry or something like that, I do have a hammer drill for that. That is corded, but
corded drill.
Okay,
we'll put it down.
Just keep going.
Yeah, I think this is just. I think
we'll give people options.
Yeah, we'll give you options. And
but
these are semi-ranked here.
Okay, but the goal was when we have our show notes, we're going to have a essential list of 7. Yes,
the 7 essential tools. Top 7 you got to have.
It may or may not. Look, maybe we'll do a second list and be like, these were very, very
honorable mentions.
Yeah. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll do our 7 essentials, and then we'll do the rest.
So what number are we at now?
We have 7 in addition to the 2 that we started with.
Okay. So basically we're way over what we said.
We are.
Which is fine. Just fine.
I never have too many tools.
I've got a good one, but go ahead, Josh.
Okay. The next one I have is a Allen wrench set. Or hex key set.
Yes.
I thought about that.
Because so much furniture now.
Yes.
Not even IKEA, like anywhere
but it comes with it, though. That's why I
but they're terrible. They're terrible.
So what? You only use it the one time?
Well, bikes.
They're really small.
A lot of bikes have hex key stuff. There's a lot. But
we're talking about inside the home. Remember.
Okay. My bikes are inside my home.
This is not
am I going to get vetoed again?
No, you're not getting vetoed because it's on my list. It's the last thing on my list, but I said an Allen wrench set. Okay. You got to go standard and metric. You need both of them, and they're inexpensive. You can get the.
Well, you get
I bet you can get them free from Harbor Freight.
What I would call the
Tim can,
right? What I would call the pocket knife style.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say when you're starting out, that's probably what you want to go for.
So the hex key set, if you don't know, it's like if you've ever bought any furniture from IKEA, especially, but most other furniture, the little L-shaped wrench that kills your hands.
Yes.
There are nicer sets of wrenches that you can get that will not destroy your hands and that are always kept together. And like Tim said, they're kind of Swiss Army knife style.
Right.
Okay, good. We'll add it.
I used mine tonight.
Looking over my list here, I think the only one that has not been mentioned yet, actually 2, because I had a basic set of pliers of slip joint pliers. So not needle nose, and not the tongue and groove pliers, just a regular slip joint plier. So these are the pliers. They're about like a standard size is an 8-inch plier. You guys not know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so it's got the 2 kind of circles, and so you can go wider, like much wider, or just kind of. Am I doing a bad job of explaining this?
I don't know.
Were you guys talking about the same beforehand when I was saying channel lock? Channel locks have.
No,
they're like slip around.
It slides. It has a.
It slides. Okay. It has like 7 different
2 different
settings.
things. Yep. 2 different things.
But so were you 2 talking about the same thing?
I don't think
you said crescent wrench, and you said
mine really the one.
If we're confusing wrenches and pliers, then we have a big problem here.
Okay, we will clarify in the show notes, and I will put.
We'll have pictures. And,
I'll have pictures of what I mean because it is a little bit difficult to explain what that is, and so on the show notes, maybe we'll put that. Okay, let me just skip ahead. So there was that one, but I also had a basic handsaw. So like I'm talking about a 15-inch. I got to saw through a single 2x4.
Yep, that's good.
Right? Or I've got to cut some trim or you name it. Or I could also cut PVC with this, right? So if I'm having to, I don't know, patch a waste pipe under the sink and I got to put a new piece of PVC in there, maybe I can cut that with that handsaw if I had to. It's not going to be the cleanest cut, but if I don't need a really clean cut, it would handle it. So that
I totally agree. That was the last thing on my list was a handsaw, and I went back and forth on a handsaw or a hacksaw.
Yep, me too.
And I thought I was going to get some feedback from Tim on this, but I think that you buy the handsaw first, and this is the saw that you think of that you would saw like Tim said, a 2x4 with. Mm-hmm. Because I have both. I have a handsaw and a hacksaw, and I use my handsaw way more often than I use the hacksaw.
If I think about it, that's probably one of my earliest memories of using a tool was a basic handsaw.
Yes.
And
learning how it feels.
Right. And what did you always hear? Whatever the guy standing, your dad or whoever is showing you how to do this, let the saw do the work. Let the saw do the work, right? Yep. And then it takes you until you're like 25.
And I still don't. I still don't do that.
Right.
Totally.
Okay. Well,
we also remember we talked about before doing a bonus tool, which is a luxury tool item.
Yep. I already said mine. It was the pair of lineman stikes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, that's my luxury tool. That's my favorite tool I have. I don't know why. I use them all the time. They're great. Channel lock.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and say mine. I had actually headphones, 3M WorkTunes headphones.
You just told me about these last week. They sound great.
These things are incredible. It's difficult for me to understand how I was doing yard work and working with power tools without these things. So basically think of standard ear protection, right?
Over like the big ear muff.
Over the ear protection, but it has Bluetooth and it's headphones.
Game changer.
So awesome. So when you have these things on, I can be running my mower, a John Deere mower, and I don't really hear a whole lot of anything. So I can be listening to podcasts, music, whatever. Game changer. Total game changer.
And Josh, you've got the Bluetooth.
He's got the fancy
radio combo.
Yeah, mine do the radio if I want to listen to local sporting events.
Right.
I can get those. But yeah, it does Bluetooth also. But yeah, no, they're awesome.
Would that be yours as well?
It could be. It could be mine. I don't know what the dollar amount is, but my ultra luxury item, and I consider this a tool, is my trailer.
Oh,
you don't have to buy like a giant trailer. I have a pretty big trailer, but you can spend a few $100s and get a decent size, 4x6 or 4x8 trailer, right. 6x8 trailer.
Because what are you spending if you have to rent the truck from Home Depot?
Yeah, do that a couple times.
Starting at $100. Yeah. I mean, for that, just for a rental or for a couple days or a day. Yeah, as long as you got somewhere to put it. A trailer, it has been invaluable. And
I've probably used your trailer more than you have.
I would say everybody needs a trailer. I don't because Josh has one.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I tell everybody is it's better than a pickup truck because if anyone wants to borrow your trailer, there's no expectation that you need to be there for whatever they're moving or if they're moving out of their house and they're like, if you have a pickup truck, you're going to be the one to drive the pickup truck. So you're going to be there while they're unloading.
There's
furniture.
A lot more liability there.
Yeah,
too.
And so when someone's like, "Hey, man, can I use your trailer?" I'm like, "Come get it." It's very hands off, but it's very helpful at the same time. So, yeah, that'd be my suggestion for an ultra luxury tool.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I'm going to read off the list real quick. This may vary from what ends up on the show notes, but it'll follow pretty closely. So to start out with, we agreed on 2 tools, one being a claw hammer and one being a combination screwdriver that can do both flathead and Phillips head screws. Those were the 2 base items, non-negotiables, if you're starting at 0. The next ones in order here are a tape measure, number 1. 2 was needle nose pliers or long nose pliers. Number 3, a level. My recommendation was a 24-inch, but torpedo smaller levels may work. Number 4, we had a little bit. 4 and 5 were kind of together with channel lock or groove pliers or crescent wrench.
Yeah, I'll put all 3 of those on the show notes.
We'll differentiate those
so we can tell them apart.
Number 6 was utility knife or box cutter, and 7. A corded drill. Number 8, a hex key set, or better known as an Allen wrench set. And the last one, rounding out, number 9, was a handsaw. So those are our recommendations for anyone starting from zero with a toolkit.
I can't believe how much we agreed on. I thought that was going to be much more contentious.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And that kind of makes me feel good that we'll get feedback that we were way, way, way off base. But as far as the three of us are concerned, I think we reached a good consensus.
Yeah,
good
start. I thought y'all were going to give me a hard time because three of on my list were all pliers, just different types of pliers.
Yeah, you were going plier heavy. But
because I thought about
nothing wrong with it.
And I was like, those... You have to have pliers.
Definitely.
It's, there's so much stuff around the house, plumbing, electrical, what you name it. You've got to have pliers to take the bolt loose or secure something or tight. Invaluable.
Yep. So that's going to wrap up this segment. We'll be back after the break with some history on a very popular and well-known piece of hardware. This episode is sponsored by 1776 United. 1776 United is a patriotic and historically inspired lifestyle brand. They make the best patriotic shirts and apparel on the market today. I personally own many of their products, and if you want to don patriotic gear without looking gaudy, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and at 1776united.com. Okay, in this segment, we are going to talk about the history of the Phillips screw. So, while that sounds super exciting, it actually is interesting.
I'm letting it sink in.
Yeah, it's actually...
Okay, so just to let our listeners know, Josh came up with this segment, and we did not... We have zero clue what he was going to say.
Right, Tim and I we're going in blind, so we don't...
That's how we're going to try to do these segments, is one of us will research a topic, and then we will literally present it live.
And just have a live discussion about
exactly.
it. Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know what a Phillips screw is, it is a screw with a cross on the top of it. So it's an X shape. It accepts a Phillips head screwdriver. Sometimes these are called cruciform.
Never heard
screws.
of that.
Yeah, never heard of that. Get that out of here.
Which means cruciform is cross.
Right.
So
well, that makes sense.
Got it.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so that's because Phillips is a trade name. So
4 points of contact.
Yes. So
essentially.
Any ideas on, any guesses on when the Phillips screw was invented?
Has to be a long time ago because it's a terrible design. It's terrible.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Here's the reason why I think it wasn't
contention.
This is
how many Phillips screws have you stripped out? Sorry, Tim.
I think that, Dave, you could be right, but as far as when it was adopted, widespread use, I'm going to say that it wasn't until the late 60s into the 70s. Here's why. So many of this old screws and stuff, like cabinet screws and all this kind of stuff, all flathead.
Yep.
All flathead. And
it's very simple.
In my house, which is built in 1964, right?
Okay.
So old fixtures and
all the electrical boxes.
Yeah, all the kind of just standard stuff in the house was all flathead screws.
Okay.
And they're just a headache, right?
Yep.
Anyways, I guess Josh is going to tell us.
What's your point?
Now that I've had time to gather myself, I was speaking emotionally a minute ago, right? Because I always strip out Phillips head screws, and they drive me crazy. For the record, I think Torx is better. But anyway.
For sure.
So I said a long time ago, because, I feel like it's just been around too long. I would go, I think has been around earlier than what Tim said, so earlier than the 60s, but probably not much earlier, because if you think about the flathead screw, that's super simple, probably very easy to make. Yep. Phillips head screw is, it's a simple thing, but it's much more complicated, I would think, to tool it. So,
I think
so. I would say around maybe the 40s or 50s.
I think that there's going to be a big discrepancy between the time that it was invented, because that could have been very early, from the time that it was actually widespread adopted.
Okay, so we got a lot of good thoughts here. Dave, the engineer, obviously thinking from a manufacturing perspective of how do you actually make this screw, because yes, the flathead screw had been the standard. I think I didn't do extensive research on the history of any screws, but I think the 1700s were the first time they started mass producing like metal screws.
Okay.
Late 1700s. And the flathead screw was the standard because they just had to mill a straight line through the center of the head of the screw.
Makes sense.
And so, yeah, when the flathead screw came around, that was actually a huge, I know you're hating on the Phillips screw, but
I prefer the flathead screw.
Well, it's a huge improvement over the flathead screw because of a couple of reasons. One being the centering mechanism.
Okay.
So when you're putting torque on a flathead screw, they call it camming out. When you cam out or strip out the screw, it's much easier if the screwdriver is centered in the head of the screw to get torque on it. Yep. So then there's also a speed thing involved. It's easier to quickly turn a Phillips screw compared to a flathead screw.
That is true.
Back to the invention of the screw. So a person by the name of John P. Thompson actually invented this screw. And so you're like, well, why isn't it not called the Thompson screw? Well, this guy was, by all accounts, had kind of a man of many trades. He was in real estate for a while. He was a laborer for a while. He was a bank cashier. He was an auto mechanic. But at some point in 1932, John P. Thompson invents the Phillips screw.
1932, huh?
1932. So we had a guess of the 60s, a guess of the 40s. We were kind of heading in the right direction there. So he got his patent in 1933 for a recessed cruciform screw.
And this guy was an American, right?
That was my question. Is this an American?
This is
an American only thing?
This is an American, yep. And he also invented a screwdriver to go with it, obviously. So this was in 1933.
So where does Phillips come in?
So Phillips comes in because Thompson went around and tried to sell his idea, right? So this is, even though it seems like such a simple piece of hardware, the screw, like the screw with a cross on the head, it was actually revolutionary, like, because everybody was on flathead screws. This wasn't the very first cruciform screw to be invented ever, but it was the one that went to market first. And so he couldn't sell it, basically. So he needed some backing. So he went to Henry Phillips, who was a
money man,
managing director of the Oregon Copper Company, which was a mining outfit in Oregon. So he got a patent for this, and Phillips' name was put on the patent, but John Thompson was still given inventor credit. So I didn't look up all the legal whatevers for that, but that's how it worked. Thompson was the inventor. The patent was given to Phillips, and then Phillips took it and tried to sell it in the 30s. Most of these screw manufacturers is where he was going, guys that already were making this thing. They said no thanks. They still weren't interested in it, mainly due to the retooling necessary to manufacture these new screws. So
change.
It's a recessed socket screw, or socket in the head of the screw.
So that's what I was thinking. They did not want to adopt it. It's still true today as far as new things in the construction industry. It takes forever.
So yeah, it sounds like Phillips was a man of action, though. So he said, I'm rich. I will now create the Phillips Screw Manufacturing Company. So Phillips,
he just said, screw all of you guys.
Screw the screw companies, and I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to get this out there. So he started the Phillips Screw Company, who started to improve the design, and they would get more patents and just refining it to, basically what we know today is the Phillips head screw. And
I want to know how you refine that patent. It's such a basic.
I would think maybe just the shape of it. The shape. The depth.
Yep.
Huh.
So,
because there are different grades. There's like a number 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
The Phillips Screw Company does that, and they actually are still in operation.
How long do they make money off of this? Because I'm thinking everybody. I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
So we talked about things moving slowly, but Phillips said, "I'm going to start my own company." Well, he started to go to the car manufacturers, and the first big name, the first commercial use of the Phillips head screw was by General Motors in 1937. So only 4 years after the initial patent, He's got General Motors, who didn't confirm this, but they said it was used on the Cadillac in 1937.
It's a big fish.
Used on the Cadillac.
The fancy screws.
And soon followed by railroad and aviation. Just 3 years later, in 1940, 85% of screw manufacturers had licenses to produce. Produce the Phillips head screw.
See, I'm embarrassed because I would have been a late adopter, obviously, because I'm still not on board.
Well, you're going from flathead,
which I prefer.
That's insane.
How do you prefer?
Because it's more predictable, and
No, it's not.
It is. It absolutely is.
No.
The things that Josh mentioned earlier made total sense, and I don't remember the way that he said it, but something about the centering.
Yeah, they cammed out easily. They slipped, and when you slip, you damage your hands.
Right.
I don't have trouble. I don't know.
Also, around this time
Please.
of this is auto manufacturing, mass production. They're now getting automated tools that can screw.
Now that makes sense. It would be much better for that.
So
you can see that
when you're using power tools with a flathead, if you've ever tried to do that, nearly impossible.
Yep.
So again, the many reasons this Phillips was superior to the flathead.
You've convinced me.
So anyway, by 1940, 85% of screw manufacturers were producing it, and nearly every automotive, railroad, and airplane manufacturer was using it. Now, to Dave's point about the slippage or the camming out, in one of the patents that was released later, I think sometime in the 40s, they listed that as a feature when used on aluminum aircraft parts.
Oh, so that you don't
over torque it. Yep. So when the tool would slip out, but that's good so you don't damage the aluminum parts.
Before torque wrenches were a thing, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know, but damage to airplanes was not something they wanted. So as we wrap this segment up, leading up to World War II, they'd started international business, but obviously a world war kind of puts a damper on your international business, especially when some of your biggest clients are in Japan. So while the war effort helped him get rich as far as selling to our manufacturers at home, the international business took a big hit. He retired in 1945, and 2 years later in 1947, the Phillips Screw Company was sued by the government for patent pooling, cartel practices, price fixing, and suppression of competing technology. So basically all these manufacturers got together and hoarded their patents, and pooling your patents it's legal, but when you're keeping competition out, it becomes illegal. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what I was reading about.
So it's essentially some form of monopoly when it comes to patents.
Exactly. And it's an unfair trade practice. So the government
that sounds weird
puts the kibosh on it.
To me, that's the point of a patent, so you do have a monopoly on it.
Well, I think it was the multiple companies that were using this, and they had started with the price fixing.
Okay.
Now, when you patent pool, apparently it becomes easier because you can use multiple companies' resources to pay to keep getting these patents. Anyway, I didn't get that far down the road, but the last patent for the Phillips head screw expired in 1966. So
the well dried up.
Do you think that's explaining what I kind of witnessed as far as the flathead screws versus Phillips head screws of what I was seeing on the Error House?
I'm not sure.
No,
I don't think so. I think it's the type of trade. I feel like a lot of the cabinet makers and electricians seem to still a lot of them gravitate towards the flathead.
Well, at least
screw,
electrical,
because I think they're more precise. Like to Dave's point, when you're using a hand tool slowly, a flathead screw can be more predictable.
Yeah, well, I think electrical, as far as face plates are concerned, it just looks better. That's probably, don't you think?
Yeah,
don't know why they do it.
I don't know. I was going to ask that question. Why do we still have flathead if Phillips is, supposedly superior?
Yeah. So if you want to go down a real rabbit hole, you can look at what comes after the Phillips screw. Like you guys mentioned, Torx. There's dozens of other screw types coming out year after year that are superior and that don't cam out as easily. But the Phillips Screw Company still operates and still improves designs for different types of screws.
Interesting.
They're a pretty small operation up in Massachusetts, I believe. So that
cool.
is the history.
A little tidbit for you.
Yeah.
And now you know.
Yeah, now you know more than you've ever needed to know about the Phillips screw.
Do you guys call it Phil's head? I always
Negative.
call it Phil's head.
No way.
Nope.
That is laziness.
Pass me the Phil's head.
No.
Always say that.
That's
Phillips
just
head.
you.
All right, I think that's going to wrap up this segment, and we'll close off this show with that. Josh, thanks so much for bringing the knowledge on the Phillips head screws.
Good job, Josh.
Never knew all that kind of stuff. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for listening to us. We're very, very new. Obviously, this is our second episode, so just bear with us here, kind of learning as we go. We'll be making some changes to the show. Anyways, thanks so much for following along. Please make sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and definitely check out the show notes at youcanman.com. Thanks so much, guys.